Hello and welcome to Digital Signage Explored. My name is Tim, and with me, joining me today is Lorna Campbell from Screenfeed. Lorna, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So for those who aren't familiar with the format, we do a live stream once every Friday. We took a little bit of a hiatus over Christmas just to make sure that we all got well rested and had a bit of time to ourselves before we start again in the new year. But we're here kind of with a special, more unique version of the stream because typically we're talking about elements of digital signage that give value to customer experiences or reseller journeys or whatever that might be. But we have a very special reason to be on this call with Lorna today and talking about a particular subject, which is a new partnership between Screenfeed and Signagelive to add some more value to the customer journeys of the Signagelive customers. Lorna, do you want to kick off with a little bit of an insight of what's been going on?
Yeah. The first thing I want to mention, Dave Haynes, actually, when we were talking about this, he's like, didn't Signagelive and Screenfeed partner before? And the answer is actually no. While we've been doing a ton of work with Signagelive just in tandem of education and show presence and things like that, we're finally officially partnered, which is incredibly exciting to announce. So that's a little bit what we're here to talk about today. This has been in the works for quite some time. So it's really fun to kick off the new year with this announcement and kind of tell everybody what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it has been a really long, I mean, we've been working together in some form for many, many years now. Like I know Screenfeed's been around for ages, Signagelive's been around for ages, and there's always been that partnership with the package widgets. We can talk about that a little bit later on as well. But then it was more around how do we build that into something a little bit more structured and formal? And this is really only the beginning of that journey, right? That's like how we're getting started with this and what else can we do later on down the line. The reason for this stream specifically is to deep dive into some of the questions that people might have and just explain what the value of Screenfeed is, where the value of Signagelive is, and where we feel like the gaps are being filled with this relationship, and really how that can add more value to the benefit. So do you want to start off with a real high-level elevator pitch of Screenfeed, just for those that aren't aware of it already?
Sure, yeah. So Screenfeed's been doing content. We consider ourselves content experts in the digital signage industry. We've been doing it since about 2008. Licensed content has been the bread and butter of Screenfeed since then. So we'll work with news providers, weather providers. We take care of all of that for commercial use. And we also take care of all of the designs, the delivery methods, and things that are optimized for digital signage use. So we're taking a lot of different elements that either people don't have time to spend time on or don't have time to set up. And we're doing that for you to make it really easy to take care of that piece of the digital signage puzzle. So that, along with data-driven custom content, which we launched 2 years ago with the birth of our Connect platform, is kind of the space that we play in. So we bring a lot of value to just end customers managing their own content that maybe don't have time to be putting the time into that, and to our partners now like Signagelive as well to support them.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important piece of value for us because as a CMS, as we've grown, I've been with Signagelive now for about 10 years. It started off, it was complicated for me at the time, but very basic when I look back at it, where you've got a range of images or videos, whatever you want them to play in rotation across a range of different players. Today, digital signage is so much more complex, and what you can do with it is so much more broad, but the content's never been something we've focused on. We've been focused on the delivery and the variables within that, the supported players, everything around the content. So to finally have more of a structured relationship with you guys to be able to offer something to the Signagelive customers that fills that gap is really, really nice. And the added benefit, this is one of the first partnerships you can launch with where we go, well, we've already got case studies that we can talk about and point to. Not something you often get is to be able to start a new kind of formal relationship with the company and go, oh, and here's some of the things we've already done with customers in the past.
Yeah. It's total testament to like the fact that we've already been informally doing this together for quite some time, but it's nice to put kind of a stamp on it of authenticity and also be able to say that this is the most involved we've been in terms of an integration with any CMS. So that's very exciting for our team because we get to kind of take new steps into how we best support a CMS partner. And then the pricing is exclusive at this point as well. It's lower than our list prices that you can procure Screenfeed content through Signagelive, which is very exciting for us to say.
Yeah, likewise.
It makes it really easy. Yeah. It makes it really easy for your clients and resellers to have access to that content. And there's just incentive even to go through your platform. And we love being able to do that for partners. So it's on top of the exciting benefits of us working together and what that can bring to clients. There's just some nice things that come along with that we can formally offer, which is, great.
I think, and that's what's so exciting for me is because I'm a huge Screenfeed proponent. I really do see the value. I've used the platform loads of times. We have it running in the screens, and that's not because sometimes, you do these tests to make sure that, hey, this works on Signagelive as expected. But it's just been so convenient for
Right.
me over the period of time where I've been with Signagelive to say, oh, we've got a space, we need to fill it with some kind of content. What can we pull? We'll go to Screenfeed and grab something. So be able to then go, I've firsthand experienced the value, and then to be able to offer that to our customer base in a way that actually really genuinely adds value, because it's more cost effective than how they could get it if they went directly. And also from our resellers perspective, it gives them something else that they can add to that relationship, where they go, not only are we providing you with hardware and the CMS and whatever other installation pieces there are, do you need help with content? If so, here's a really concise way of getting that content to your screen. And we can deliver that all in-house as firsthand as resellers, which I think is a lot of value to that customer journey as well.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see this isn't live today, but it will be live, I think, in Q1. The ability for people to just self-serve Screenfeed content through the actual Signagelive platform, which again is part of that like deeper integration than we've done ever before.
Yep.
We've done it in different ways, but the way that we're doing it with you guys is just very exciting personally to see. It's been exciting for our development team, which it's great to see that excitement spread, not only, of course, to the people that are announcing the news, but to our whole company anyway. So
It's been really interesting to see, because obviously you and I and some of the individuals within Screenfeed and Signagelive have communicated a lot from a marketing perspective, because it has been more kind of high level. And now to witness kind of the merging of the development departments coming together and the commercial teams interacting with each other. I know that you spent quite a bit of time with our commercial team for the first time on a global scale to get them familiar with the products and the solutions and being able to talk a little bit more clearly about what the offerings are. It's been really interesting to see that merge properly happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over it.
Do you want to mention some of one of our talking points here, the gaps in the Signagelive marketplace too that this is bringing? You guys have been doing a ton of rework on what you guys had offered versus what you're offering now, which again is really exciting and will help your clients a lot, just in terms of organization, in terms of what's available and what you guys back too. I mean, that's not to be understated at all.
Absolutely. And I think that is something that we've looked at for a long time. Obviously, I can't remember how long ago it was now, maybe 8 years or more. We said, we're going to build a marketplace for the first time. There's going to be a range of applications on there that people had often requested. And those were the things we're still talking about today. You know, there's still weather, clocks, and some of the more basic widgets, but that's definitely grown a lot since then. But as it stands, we aren't going to expand out into that. And we aren't going to be able to give you the level of tailored branding that I think now has become more expected, especially on a larger level. Like smaller businesses, maybe they'll grab a widget from here or there because it's beneficial, but we're not really going to go down to that granular level where we're focusing on brand colors and making sure things are in the right font styles, and it all kind of is totally click and drag, build your own. And just isn't our intention. So to finally be able to put something in there that's more formally in place and go, if that's what you're looking for, Screenfeed not only solves that problem, but if you don't have the in-house resource to manage that yourself, they're also an extension of that team for you if you need it.
Yeah, to be able to offer our content expertise, I mean, that's where we kind of bring a lot of value to, and I mentioned it already just a little bit, but it's not only just the fact that we've been doing this for a long time, but it's the fact that we're continuing. Content is Screenfeed's main priority. So we're going to be building out different iterations of our existing content, making that better. We're building out new products in general. And having that in your back pocket instead of having to do it yourself we're excited to be able to bring that to your platform.
Historically, it's been a challenge for us as well. We have on the odd occasion in the past have people turn up, and again, this is going back to my commercial time, but we've had people come and say, can we have this widget, but can we build it like this or like that, whatever. And we hadn't really, I don't think, I might be talking out of hand here slightly, but we hadn't really built it to be something that we could just go and make a change for, or we hadn't really put any kind of formal structure around that, or we didn't have the resource even internally ourselves to do that for customers that want it. So it's always been a struggle for us, and I think this makes so much more sense because it's very difficult, I think, to bridge the gap of being a CMS expert and being a content expert. I think they're two very different methodologies, different departments in themselves. So being able to lean on each other's experience a little bit more is going to be really beneficial.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing that too now more. Like we have people that are coming to us and saying, we have this content problem. Can you solve it? And it sounds like you guys are hearing more of the same thing as well. It's been sort of a trend for the longest time, right? But it's more and more as the industry matures and there are more solutions just readily available at a baseline. The ability for our team to be able to answer that, that takes away that opportunity cost of not doing it or spending the time doing it yourself. And maybe it's clunky or maybe it's not as efficient, or you could be doing other things that you're best at. So I think that's one of the gaps where we fill, and that's one of the struggles, right, that we've talked about just a little bit already with
Yeah.
content and how to really make the most of your screen. So we're happy to fill that. And it sounds like you guys are focusing on that as well.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we can now both focus on our core elements and deliver the best products possible and then just have them working in unison. And it should be said that although this partnership is very new, launched Tuesday, there's still been a lot of dev work behind the scenes before this. As an example, within the Screenfeed solution, you can go and export a package widget as a HTML5 package application, which from a Signagelive perspective adds value. So, and just to be clear on that, if you have content that's pulling in live data, like the list that you need or range of image assets or whatever it might be,
Right.
the package widget would take those, condense them all into one application, and then you'd see it on your screen as your final product. Now, if that was just a straight URL or a web page and you lost an internet connection, next time that would try to refresh, you would lose that page. It would display nothing. Luckily, there's some logic within Signagelive which would just skip that asset entirely until the connection came back. So it would go, oh, this isn't loading, we're going to move on. But you do still lose that data. So even today, in the way that Screenfeed works with Signagelive is if you're downloading that widget or that packaged application, all of the assets that make up that image or video, whatever it might be, visually, they would still run offline. They wouldn't be able to update, obviously, but they would store all of those assets on the device locally. So internet connections and outages and things doesn't negatively affect or impact your content. And that works in the same way, I believe, for Connect or for any of the other Signagelive download assets you can. So again, it's nice to have the relationship work this way because we're not launching, I wouldn't even say with a V1 of the product. This is, kind of a V2, V3 that's already part of that launch offering. So it's really well established as a product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. We almost work backwards in the best way possible.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we've actually been beta testing this for like 10 years. It's the longest beta test apart from maybe some old games or something.
Exactly.
So talking about Screenfeed a little bit more detail, and with the customers that you serve today, what is the struggle that you've been trying to solve for with those customer bases? What are they typically coming for you with?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot about it varies throughout industry. It varies throughout the position of person that we're talking to, right? There's such a wide variety of people and places that we serve. So it does vary a little bit, but something while we were just reflecting on that question is the gaps that come with expertise, really.
Yeah.
So we'll see, it's kind of like what I mentioned before, but in conversations, we'll see even some large customers and companies, it's not limited to the onesie twosies. It's just, how do I get started? Right. So they'll come to us and they say, we have an idea about content, or they have their own content. And they want to supplement it. What do I do? And they're having kind of these consultative conversations with our team, even though technically we're just content. I'm sure you guys see the same thing. And it's that supporting of that knowledge gap and making it really easy and making it really understandable. Honestly, that's the one kind of trend that I see across different industries and different positions and things like that. And so being able to serve it with you guys, your platform along with our platform, I'm very excited about. So, do you guys see anything? What from your perspective do you see?
I think there's a couple of different levels, and I think that the challenge and the struggle for anyone looking at digital signage for the first time is, what do I put in my content? Sometimes the question is raised first, we need digital signage or we need some way of communicating. And then the follow-up question is, what do you want to put on the screen? And sometimes that conversation is harder than others. And it's being able to look at what the options are out there. So where Screenfeed alleviates a lot of that is there's what you'd call, or what I would kind of consider evergreen content, things that you're already working on. Like if I'm already managing a social media feed, why not integrate that into my signage because I've done the work already? Then you've got kind of more evergreen content in a way that you say, well, I've got this image is never going to change. It's a welcome video that just says, welcome to XYZ. And unless we change the company name, we're not going to change that. But then you've got more of that kind of dynamic content where you've got Screenfeed being able to pull in data from XML files or sheets or whatever it might be, where you may have variables someone externally doesn't even have access to digital signage, needs to control that. So you're right. I think it's a pretty varied outlook. I mean, taking Flight Centre as an example of the case study that you and I spoke to, how long ago is that? Like a year ago now, maybe?
Yeah, I wouldn't say over a year. Yeah, it's been a while.
Oh, their use case was pretty simple, right? They just wanted to display train times and information for their staff. So when they were leaving their London office, they could navigate home in the easiest way possible, right? Am I missing something? That was the major crux of it. Was there more to it than that?
Yep. Nope, you got it.
And that's like one of those, if we hadn't had this relationship, we would have really struggled to be able to carve off the resource to build something that technically specific. Whereas this content house that you have that you're building is just, it's the most requested items, growing kind of slowly over time as those requests get bigger, but there's more thought behind it than what we would have been able to do if we had to focus on this. We would have just had to build one thing, tested it once, made sure it worked out the door, and that becomes, a support nightmare later on when there's loads of different ranges of variables. And we've worked on this project 2 years ago. Now the application that we pulled the data from has gone out of date, or there's so many different things that can happen that unless you are a company that's focused on it, becomes a pain for, well, to be honest with you, everyone, the customer, the reseller, the CMS, or the SaaS provider. You have to really be focused on those experiences regularly. It can't just be a one-off.
Right. And if you're not doing it in a smart way, I mean, what you do is risk losing the value of the whole time that you spend setting up your network. It's not just content and it's not just software, right? It's very expensive, maybe displays or media players, and you run the risk. And this is what we see sometimes too, folks that come to us and say, we've got our network set up. What can I do, right? Can you make me a recommendation, or can you suggest based on what I think my goals are? So honestly, sometimes it's just the challenge that comes with content is just defining what they want. Like you mentioned communication. I want to communicate to my audience, or I want to make my audience feel more comfortable or create this experience. So it's just, part of it is just identifying that with the customer. And if they know, then you can kind of start and say, okay, you do have a strategy that you've identified, which is kind of step 2. You know all of the options that are available to you. So yeah, there's lots of steps along the way that folks have a hard time with. And even if they get past step 1 and 2, which is I know my goal, I know all the solutions available, but I don't know how to get started. That's where having a platform like Connect or experts like the Signagelive team that are having holistic conversations, not only about the Signagelive platform, but we're having it about Screenfeed content. You guys know about Screenfeed content. And you can say, great, this is how you implement. And you can have a hand in that if you want, or you don't have to have a hand in that if you want. We can take care of it for you. And then they get to this point where they have beautiful content that's adding value to their screens and often not going stale and doing what the screens are meant to do, right? Instead of just being dark or being stale or something like that. There's a lot of challenge there. Yeah, for sure.
100%. And I did want to say, whilst we're here, for those of you that are watching this live, do feel free to add in any comments or questions that you have. This is almost a bit like an open surgery. So if you've got any questions, we can try and tackle them. If we don't know the answer, we won't lie. We can come back to you on them. But if there is anybody on here specifically that wants to learn more about it directly. Oh, we have a question on YouTube. Hey, Steve. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. I don't know if you probably didn't hear that, did you, Lorna? Because the microphone's too sensitive. So basically, Steve Elton from ADI, hi Steve, welcome again, has asked that a lot of the content that they're working with is not necessarily 16.9 or 9.16. How does that work from Screenfeed's perspective in terms of managing that? Do you want to cover that one? I can cover some parts of it, but I don't know if you've got any insight specifically.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll start. So we do have in some of our licensed infotainment, we do have different display sizes. So it's more standard, but outside of 16 by 9, 9 by 16, 4 by 3, 1 by 1, there are going to be some of those zone sizes, square sizes, that kind of thing, sidebars, footers. So that is readily available, but you can create any dimension, any size that you need to in Connect. So that's where I would recommend, depending on what you need and depending on what the size is, I'd recommend going with Connect. It can be any canvas size that you want, and you can add those elements of data or text and images and things like that and build your own content from there. So depending on what the size is and really how non-standard it is, those are the 2 ways that I'd recommend going.
Yeah, I was going to say Connect as well, because you say there is obviously, then there's a portion of that from a Signagelive perspective as well. And I know Steve will be aware of this because he's very, very familiar with the platform, but you can also take those into the layout, create the zones that you want with the Connect piece from a publishing perspective. It's literally just a case of making that template canvas that you want within Signagelive and saying, these are my dimensions, making the same dimensions in Connect and then exporting them, and it will just render out to the right size. And if there are any of those assets that we talked about, like social media, that you want to have, obviously then there's the option of putting that into a layout design with multiple versions, or a 16 by 9, but next to a 16 by 9, or whatever that configuration is that you need. So there's quite a few options there to play around with for sure.
Right. Yeah. And I should say just really quickly for those that maybe aren't as familiar with what Connect is versus infotainment,
Mm.
our infotainment feeds can be configured with just clicking a couple of options. So you're clicking on the size that you want, you're clicking on your delivery method, kind of visuals of what you'll be seeing on the screen and maybe localizing.
Hmm.
Um, so that's the configuration and the way that those feeds are set up. But Connect offers kind of a Canva-like free-flowing editor. So it's a canvas and you're pulling in those data elements. And that's the difference between like every other template tool and what Connect actually offers is that live data that can be incorporated.
Yeah.
But that's where there's a great opportunity if you do have a non-standard size or something that you want to do that's just a little bit different because that canvas is so flexible. So that is the difference between those two products, just to explicitly state it.
Yeah, 100%. And we can obviously arrange for trial licenses if anyone wants to play around with this and get familiar with it. You can reach out to Signage Live on that one as well if you want, Steve. I know you have some contacts here, but it is just about that flexibility with Connect. And what I really want to mention about Connect that I really like, because I struggled with this for years, is you can build it yourself and you can make it look on brand and in fitting with other content that you've built. And I think that's something that has been a struggle for a really long time. You know, you can put over a transparent G sheet, which is something that we have, which is great for basic needs. I want to put a menu board, here's some text, but they've never really had that granular control of this field is going to be images, this field is going to be text, this is the logic I want you to take on those conditions, and having all of those conditions built into Connect, and then just going, right, I've built it, now I can just export it to Signage Live, and if you need to make variances on there, you can lean on the tagging in Signage Live to be region specific. I can't remember what the tagline is, I should probably try and remember this, but Jeremy says something regularly, Jeremy, CEO of Screenfeed, says you can make it in a morning, or what is it he says? Do you remember?
Before lunch. Yep.
Before lunch.
He says you can make content before lunch.
Make content before lunch, which I can attest to and I have done. There are some human limitations from my perspective in terms of the way that it looked, but that's really nothing to do with Screenfeed, more to do with my content creation abilities. I'm just looking at my notes here, see if there's something else we need to focus on.
I think the one other thing worth mentioning is just the fact that you should lean on our teams and the expertise that we've been talking about. We can do some of these things for you as well. So a really cool use case that we just finished up with is a bank in Canada that came and said, we have these innovation rooms and they're really unique because it's a room where teams can collaborate and you can book them out for like 3 months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, so we want to be able to show the availability of those rooms. But of course, if a room is booked for 3 months, that's not really intriguing and people aren't going to be coming back daily to check that. And they're like, give us a challenge or solve this challenge for us of how we have a screen that's engaging that people will be coming back to and checking. And it's also giving just the status updates, right? So we utilize Connect and it's got this view of these 9 different rooms and their names and their status, and the colors will conditionally change based on the status. So if it's going to be available soon, it'll be yellow. And if it's available now, it's green. And if it's not available for 3 months, it's totally booked out, it's red, right?
Do you know what? I totally forgot about even that piece of the product until you just mentioned it. That was super useful when I started playing around. It's like, I can make things happen externally based on the data. Really, you're really getting granular in terms of what you can do. And I know specifically Stephen from ADI will like this. There's a lot of control, a lot of things you can build in, and variables that you can build out as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what I hope it inspires for people is just for them. I hope we do a good enough job communicating what's available so it can inspire people to go even further with the ideas and where they want to take their screens and what they want to do with them, especially now that Connect is in the mix, right? You can make your screens really unique and cater to the goals that you have for your venue by adding weather and by adding trivia and by adding different things, news, right? Really cool way that you can tailor your screens to what your goals are. Obviously, it takes time to plan something like that, but I hope this inspires people to do that more than anything, just knowing what's available and knowing what our companies can do together. That's the most exciting thing is that, I think.
No, 100%. I think if you can just kind of delve into one of the pieces here that we mentioned, I think we touched on it loosely, but it's just about, because there are 2 major ways of dealing with Screenfeed company. One is just purchasing a la carte, and there are different packages available, of which Signage Live also offer. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. Probably should have had that one documented. So you can purchase individual applications based on what you need. And then there's also different bundles, right? So it depends on social media bundles and different infotainment bundles. There is always the most cost-effective way. And there's obviously everything where you can kind of pick a la carte from what else is on there. And then there's another way that you can work with Screenfeed, which is more about you building out the product for them. Is that right? So there's 2 avenues?
Yeah, for sure. So we call that content services, where you're working with us kind of on a specific project and you're explaining the project to us and we're accomplishing that for you. And then we call it like self-serve, honestly, where people can just come. And now you can do that through Signage Live, which is kind of the whole point of this partnership is the self-serve either from our website directly. You can just sign up for an account. You can either start a trial or you can create a subscription without any intervention with like our sales team or maybe your sales team. Signage Live has a couple of bundles, I think like an everything and an essentials bundle. So we have a starting point and then we've got everything in a social media bundle as well. So people can purchase that and get started. Again, that's all in that self-serve umbrella where you can create your own, anywhere from picking out what you want to getting started and scheduling it in the Signage Live platform for your screen. That can all be done independently, which we want to empower people to do.
Yeah.
But if you do have the Bank in Canada example, I have this idea. I know what I want to do with my screens, but I don't exactly know how to accomplish it. Our team is here for that. We can quote out that project and we're really lean and we're really fast. So if you have an idea, it's not going to take multiple months. It's going to be really tough to implement. We'll get it done. That's the nice thing about being content focused and being the whole part of our business is we can really turn things around and be efficient for people.
Yeah.
With a high level of expertise too. So our team is at your disposal, I guess, is my long-winded what I'm trying to say.
Well, the good news is because you're eating your own medicine, right? Because you're using the tool you built to offer the solution to the customers that you have. So if you find that there's something in the platform that this could be improved, you're kind of internally able to communicate that way faster.
Totally.
Hey, I want to do this. Why can't I do this? Oh, I need this button. Okay, well, this is really important to me. And the priority list happens pretty quickly because you're doing it on the customer's behalf. So in a way, that's the best way of building out because you're testing it daily. I'll be honest with you, I haven't been in the Signage Live user interface probably since before Christmas, just because I'm not in there every day. Other people in the company are, but it's kind of nice to have that synergy. That's like one of those really culture words. No, it's really good to have that experience.
Well, that's what's really nice about having Connect now is before it would take a little bit longer for us to respond to any custom requests because it was our development team, right? So anything that's outside of our infotainment umbrella, you got to talk to us, then we'll talk to our dev team and we will get that accomplished for you. But Connect allows that missing piece in the middle, our team being able to accomplish something maybe with a little bit of dev support, but it accomplishes the same thing for our end users and our partners as it's accomplishing for our team. Like we have a veterans home that makes 3 or 4 new Connect apps every week. It's new announcements, it's countdowns, it's new things. Like we have people that completely self-serve in Connect as well in terms of creating their own custom content. And that's what we envisioned the majority of people doing. But we've seen a lot more of this balance between people self-serving and asking our team to build content for them. Just because, like I said, that cost of doing the thing that's most valuable to you. Teams want to spend time with their employees doing what their employees are good at, and they want to have us take care of the content. I'm sure that request has happened from Signage Live quite a bit too, or to Signage Live.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and we are kind of getting close to wrapping up on this show. So I did want to just put another quick feeler out there for anybody that is watching. If you do have any questions, drop them in now. We've got a couple more minutes to cover. Oh, Joe, yeah. If you shout, the microphone might just be able to pick it up. No, it's all right. You go for it. Okay. Hey, Steve again. Okay, so that's a good question. Lorna, you can definitely cover this one, which is just around the pricing model. Is it per player? Is it per network? So it's per player, correct? It's
a great question. Yes, per player.
Yeah. So, Steve, if you want to reach out to, I guess it would be John or Carl, they'll be able to get you all that information. And this is another thing, and one of the hardest things to get messaging right about is who are we talking to when we do these things? And this is a real peek behind the curtains. Are we talking to the people that are going to be using the product, or are we potentially talking to a great range of the resellers that we have here? But I just think everybody here is a winner because it's such a cool product to be able to offer to your customers. If you're from a reseller perspective, you're really genuinely adding value. You're simplifying their experience, or knowing ADI, potentially a tool that you just use in-house as your own tool then to package and deliver. It just gives you so much freedom and flexibility around content that there hasn't been a lot of in the past. And just from a CMS perspective, just to have that, hey, we can pivot whatever you need. If you just need to display images and videos, no problem. If you are looking at a more complex data-driven structure that's pulling in a little bit more interactive, then we at Signage Live aren't going to be able to do that for you anytime soon. So then Screenfeed is that option for you that goes, that's the perfect solution. Don't need to go shopping. You don't need to find, and I've been doing a lot of software onboarding recently, and it can become a nightmare. It's all just under one roof, under one umbrella, and you don't need to go find new partnerships. You don't need to go kind of understand where the limitations are. If we in-house at Signage Live can't tell you exactly the question that you need, we have someone like Lorna, a phone call away, that we can talk to and understand exactly what it is you're trying to solve for.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd really encourage, I know if there's any other questions, we'd love to take them, but I really encourage you guys to reach out to your Signage Live people because this is available now. So in Q1, you'll be able to actually procure content through the Signage Live platform, which is, again, that last piece of this partnership that we're really excited to implement. But until now, you can get those bundles, you can get access to Connect, you can get literally anything along with your Signage Live licenses, which is just great.
So yeah, if you do have any questions, if you're watching this, because I know we put this live on the website, if you've just kind of stumbled into this little corner of the internet, welcome. Do go and speak to an account manager. You can use the chat bot in there and just say, hey, I want to go and talk about Screenfeed, and we'll get you routed to the right person. So there's just a whole bunch of opportunities here. This video itself will be canned and recorded and released as another Digital Signage Explored. So if you have any questions later or want to go and review this, then this will be out, I believe, on Tuesday next week. So we launched. So you can always go back to it. But again, if you are hankering for some more information that we haven't covered and you want to go back, feel free just to reach out to us and we can get you attached to someone that can help you. Lorna, anything else you wanted to mention or cover that we haven't covered yet?
Nope. Find us at screenfeed.com. We're happy to help with content. But again, I just encourage you guys to reach out to the Signage Live team because we're available for that platform now. So thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and I think we've talked a lot in the past. There's so much more coming down the pipeline that we want to talk about. If you are going to ISE, come and see us in Hall 4. We will have some Screenfeed content running there as well. There will be some Screenfeed individuals, I believe, if I'm not listening, that may potentially around the area. Just realised I don't know if I'm leaking anything there, but scrap that. Move on. Yeah, so if you are at ISE, come down and see us. We've been working pretty heavily on the content there, and I think it's probably some of the best content we've got, and there's a whole mix of our own content, some of the things that Screenfeed can do, and just demonstrate some of those things in a real visual guide. But if you can't make it, do follow along with this stream because we are looking to do some live streams from ISE, as long as it technically allows us to do that. I'm looking at Joe. Joe's nodding like, yeah, sure, why not? That'll be fine. So do keep an eye out. Do follow us along with our journey on Digital Signage Explored and Signage Live and Signage Live Explored as well. Lorna, where can people find you if they need to?
Yeah, find us on LinkedIn, find us on our website, and of course, find us at shows. We'll be happy to interact on any of those platforms. So screenfeed.com, LinkedIn, just search up Screenfeed. Same with our sales team. We'll be happy to help.
Great. And if you want to find any more information about Signage Live and Screenfeed, you can go to signagelive.com/Screenfeed. We'll take you straight over there as well. Thank you so much for joining me, Lorna. Real pleasure.
Thanks, Tim. See ya.
Thanks very much, everyone. Bye.